Hi guys, this is Jenna. I'm going to show you how I came up with this whale painting. If you've painted with us before, you might know all of this already, but I'll give you a quick little overview of what we're doing. I have my egg carton with acrylic paints. Didn't pour yellow because I didn't use yellow. If you want to use yellow, go for it. I've got my paper plates for mixing my colors. And then I have paper towels and a glass with water to rinse off my brushes. Brush-wise, I have this tiny guy that we'll use for the little detail pieces. Probably not until the end, so I'll just leave him off to the side. I've got my middle brush, which we're going to use for mixing our colors. So like if you hear me say, we're going to scoop, white, 2 scoops of white, that's my scoop measurement, my middle one. And then the big one we'll probably just use on the canvas. We're going to start with the background and then kind of work our way up. So when you're painting, try to keep it as thin as possible, because when we're painting, we're going to paint on top of those colors. We need them to be dry. Although the fun part about this is you could just pause it and come back to it. But I'm going to show you kind of all the way through how I got this. But if you need to, if you're in a hurry, if you need the paint to dry, I've got a heater off to the side. I might just run over and dry a piece if I need to, if you're kind of wanting it to be dried faster. But what we're going to do, I'll do this background first, and then we'll do the splatter paint, and then the whale. The whale is going to be painted with a white right over top of the background colors, so it's going to pick up all of those, the same kind of tones as we go. So if you are going to kind of play and pause and go do other things, that part you want to do the white on here while this is still a little wet from the background, like the background is still a little wet. Other than that, you can pause and come back if you need to, but we'll work on the mandalas and then the details with the black on the whale, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to start mixing my colors. So chances of me mixing them to be exactly the same are pretty slim, because I guess I'll just see what happens. But we're going to start with, I'm going to start with my white. So I'm going to do little scoops, pretty much like 1 scoop of the white. And I'm going to make 4 piles, because I've got a purple, a pink, a green, and a blue. So I'm going to start with my whites, and then I'm going to kind of work my way up here. So I'm going to start with that pink. So I'm going to do a scoop of red and the tiniest little bit of blue. Just going to mix that up. So it's kind of going to stay pink, but it's just going to have a little bit of a purpley tone. You can add a little bit more if you need to. The color mixing part is the fun part. So as you're mixing your colors, just enjoy that and make sure that you like the colors. They don't need to match mine. This is your painting, so just kind of almost like, I don't know, don't try to compare it to what I have. If you want a different color, totally do that. So then from my pink, I'm going to go right into my purple. I'm going to add a little more here. So just kind of keep playing with your colors until you like them. I think that's all right. Add a little more red. Alright, so then I'm going to go right into my purple. I'm not rinsing my brush off because I'm going to use the same colors. Also with that, see how I'm keeping my brush to the side as I'm scooping? You're not going right into the center and kind of ruining the whole cup. I'm going to do a scoop of red and a scoop of blue. And then I'm going to do a tiny little bit of black. And then just mix that guy up. I see already it's a little too blue, so I'm going to get a little more red. white for this one, so it's a little bit lighter. All right, and then my blue, I'm going to go right in and mix up my blue. If you need to rinse off your brush, you totally can. I'm going to do, probably do 2 scoops of blue. I'm going to do a little bit of green and a little bit of black. It's kind of a turquoisey blue. All right, got those 3, and then I'm gonna go for my green. Again, I'm not gonna rinse my brush off because I know that I'm okay with it. If you need to, you can rinse your brush off, dry it really good if you do. My green, I'm gonna do 2 scoops of green, and then tiny little bit of black. All right. Okay, so I think I have my colors. I think I'm good. You can add colors if you need to, if you want to do more than the 4. I'm just going to do this 4. So here's what we're going to do. I know it looks like they're all kind of smeared together, but we're going to start off actually doing like a cross hatch, and then I'm going to brush over it with my big brush. So to do the to do the cross hatching, I'm going to paint with my littler brush. That way when I go to spread them all together, my big brush is clean. So keep that big brush clean. Start with this brush that you were just mixing with. And you kind of want to do it quickly so that they're wet, and when you go over it with the big brush, they all kind of smear together. You can go in with a little bit of white to kind of help you. I'm going to scoop some on my plate, so I already have that ready to go. All right, so here's what you're going to do. Take a breath. I'm going to go in with my green, straight into my blue. Put some of the blue up here, then into the purple. You're probably like, what is she doing? Just trust me, it'll be all right, I promise. You can take a little white if you want to. So see how I'm kind of going back and forth with these colors, and I'm just letting them, they're almost just kind of mushing together. Sorry, I had music playing over there. I guess it's a little loud. So with this, you're just going to keep going over till we cover the canvas. So I'm kind of alternating my colors. So like I have the blue going this way, I'm going to have the purple going this way. I'm going to add a little white up there. So now maybe I'll do the blue this way. There's really I have no color pattern. I'm kind of just right now playing with these colors. If you want to, you can go around the edges as you're going with these, so that your edge kind of matches, you know, those colors like overlap onto the edge. Let's see, I'll do some purple. So really, don't overthink this. Right now you're just making a mess with these colors. And as I get, I guess this was kind of halfway. I'm going to flip my canvas just so it's easier to get to that side. Kind of see what I'm doing. You can paint the top. Okay. So keep going with this mess. Add some white here and there if you need to. So see one direction with the pink, then go another direction with the blue. See how my brush is getting kind of muddy? Where all the colors are kind of mushed on there. If you need to right now, you can kind of wipe your brush off to get some of that paint off. I wouldn't rinse it. I'm just going to wipe it. So then when you go back, you'll have a cleaner. Yeah. Okay. So let's do some purple, some pink. I'm going to turn my canvas again here. You can do the edge before you get to the front. All right. So what you want to do is just cover with all these colors here. Make sure none of your canvas is showing any white. Okay. I'm going to flip it one more time. So that I can get that edge done. Okay, so now, with this background, the way that it is, I'm going to put my mixing brush in my water. You can give it a little stir, and then just leave it in there. You're going to pick up that big brush, and in very light strokes, so I'm not pushing really hard on this brush, I'm almost just kind of placing it on the canvas. And you're just going to stroke over top of it. And you can go back and forth if you want to, or you can go all in one direction. It's up to you. But this, you're going to smear all of these colors. And you don't want to push too hard because you're not trying to drag the paint. You're just making that kind of hazy look with all these colors here. Just keep going back and forth. Okay. All right. Now, there's your background. What we're going to do, you can rinse this brush off. Rinse that brush off, dry it really good. We're going to rinse that mixing brush off and dry it really good. I hope you like that background part. I should have given you a little warning with that, but, well. All right, I'm sure you're fine. Okay, so now for the splatter paint, I used the colors that I had on my background, and I also did black. What you're going to want to do is water down the paints. So I'm going to dip my brush in my water cup, and then I'm going to take a little scoop of my pink and move it off to the side. So really, see how it just got a little, I don't know if you can see that, but you're just thinning it out a little bit with that chunk of water. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. Just add a little scoop of paint. You don't need a lot. Do the same thing with the blue. And then the same thing with the green. I'm going to add a little more paint back because I think these are really wet. You want it to be thin, but you don't want it to be like super dripping that when you splatter it on your canvas, then it's going to drip down your painting. Okay. Add a little more pink. All right, and there's two things you can do, right? You, at home, if you'd like to, you can take your canvas off and lay it flat. It's probably easier for you to splatter down straight onto the tabletop. But I'm going to keep mine on the easel here so you guys can see. I'm going to start with my pink. And now what you're going to do is the brush with the paint, you're going to hit into the other brush. So brush with paint, hit into the other brush. I'm going to dip it into my paint, the watered down paint, and just test it a little bit on your plate so that all the big blobs come off onto your plate. And then I'm planning on doing almost like around the whale. So my whale is coming up from the corner here and going up to the top. So that's the part that I'm going to focus on. So I'm going to just kind of assume that the splatter is going kind of around where the whale is. Okay. And if you're getting messy, you're doing it correctly. Okay. So do your splatters. And I'm rinsing my brush off in between each color. You don't really need to do that, but ooh, big blob. All right, I'm going to do a little white. Don't forget, just scoop a little bit off to the side and add a little bit of your water to it, just to water it down. And then I have black up there too. Do a little scoop of black. Okay. All right, so now, if you're anything like me, this has paint all over it, so I'm just going to wipe this off. All right, rinse off your middle brush. Dry it really good. We're going to paint out where the whale is going to be right now in the tiny brush, and then I'm going to paint it in with that medium brush. So I'm going to go straight in with some white. And you can kind of dip it in the paint and then almost like wipe it off so you don't have a big chunk of paint on your brush. So I have him coming up from the side. So I'm going to create kind of that, I don't know, it's almost like an oval banana kind of shape here. I'm going to create that first, and then I'll go back and fill in where his fins are. So for now, just kind of block off where he's going to be. So I've got him coming up from here, like here. Okay, so I'm going to draw this back side. And it kind of curves in a little bit. Actually, I think he goes up a little higher. Okay, now when you go down, it goes down a little bit and then kind of goes out. So create that nose part, I'll call it a nose, and then have it go out a little bit this way, and then right back down to your side. Now, you have that initial shape. You can go back. I want to make him a little rounder here. And see how with the white, it's pulling up all those colors from the background? So that's how you're going to get that pastel color of his body color. Sorry, squeaky chair. Okay. Still going to make him a little fatter, I think. All right, now you can throw that brush in your water cup, take your middle brush, and you're just going to paint him in white. See how it's picking up all those, like the splatter colors that we just did, and the underneath color. Sorry, the background color. And that's how you're going to get that, his pastel color. Okay. And just, for me, I don't like when I have those stripy brush strokes, like you can see the texture of where I just did my brush stroke. So if you're like me, you can just kind of go over that with your brush. You don't need more paint. You're just kind of stroking over where you already put the white. Okay? Gotta fix that line here. Okay. Okay? So now, the fins, I'm going to start with this big one. That's this front one here. And you can do it a few different ways. If you want to, you can draw like almost this circle here and then draw a tip under here. For me, I'm going to start here, I think, and go this way, and then here and go this way. But it's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. He's pretty much like smack in the middle of the canvas, but it just depends where your whale is. So for me, I mean, you can maybe go down, like, depending on how big your whale is, go down halfway from where the whale is, and you can start there to draw him out. And your white is probably still going to be wet, so it's not really going to, you're not going to be able to really do much here, but just so you can see where the shape is going to be. And then give it that little loop. I'm just going to go back with my little brush so I don't mess up that bottom part with this fatter brush. So go back in with your white. You can kind of draw out so you have a little loop here. And then same thing, you're going to paint that in white. Don't worry if it blends into your whale color. You kind of just, you can see where that shape is just by going over like where we just painted. This white that's a little bit brighter on here, I added that later, so we can go back to that and do that. But for now, just paint in so that you have that whale, that fin. Okay, and then this one here is going to come from the edge of the whale. Oh, also, as I just did that, watch, because your splatter paint's probably still wet, so watch you don't like handprint as you're pushing on the canvas there to draw somewhere else. Just make sure you don't put your hand in that splatter. Okay, so for that other whale, for that other fin, sorry, you're going to, I'm going to leave a little space here. I'm going to draw, it's almost like an oval. Kind of map out where it's going to be. And just draw that little mitt there. And again, paint him in white. And see, I'm picking up a lot of the green from the splatter. Just kind of brush over it with your white. And use your pinky if you want to get really close, kind of as like a kickstand. If you're worried about that straight line. Helps you to stay a little stable. A little more stable. Okay, paint him in. See how the more you stroke over it, it's like picking up some of those underneath colors. It helps it to kind of blend it in so that they all have almost the same kind of colors. Okay? All right. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll come back and do the black on that part. So now we're going to move on to the mandalas. You really can do any kind of design in the background. I just use white, and I kind of, with each of them, like I started in the center and then just kind of worked my way out. You can do this shape all over. You don't have to do them all individual, different individual shapes. It's kind of just up to you and what you're comfortable with. Also, again, keep in mind, what I like to do is I get really close, kind of like a pencil, and sometimes I'll lean on the canvas. Be careful that you don't stamp the splatter all around. And then just kind of go slow. I'm going to use that tiny brush again, and when you're doing that, you can kind of, see how I'm like spinning? You can kind of spin your brush in the white, and that'll help to point it out. You don't need a lot of paint when you're doing this. It can almost be kind of sketchy and see-through. Gives it another effect too. Okay, so I'm going to start with this top one, and I'm going to do this center circle. So almost just like a polka dot. Also, you can look up designs on the internet. There's mandala pieces drawn, and anything that you can find just to give it another design for the background. But this is just, I don't know, what came out of my brain. And then I just outlined this part here. I don't know, I get almost into like mandala wormholes, but I don't know, they're my outlet sometimes to draw. So between polka dots, which I kind of gave you with the splatter, and these mandalas, that's just something I'm always drawn to when I draw. If I need to, artistically get something out, that's kind of just what happens. So with what's going on now, I don't know, you can practice your mandala art. They're kind of like flowers too. So this next part that are these petals. I'm going to start with this middle one here. It's almost like a triangle, but you're just kind of giving it a little bubble. So now I'm going to start this way. Then I'm going to go back to this side. So it helps you to kind of get the same, they don't need to necessarily be symmetrical, but just to help you draw. Oh, and see? Smudged. Okay. That guy goes off, and then this one comes around. Okay. I'm going to put that dot back that I just smeared on. Alright, and then these little feather pieces, or scalloped pieces, I guess. For something like this, if you're worried about your brush getting too thick, you can do one side and then the other. So like you can go from the top and go around that way, then around that way. So come to the middle and then go out this way to the middle, to the middle, to the middle, to the middle, out, middle, out, middle, out, middle, out. Okay? Middle, out, to create those little bumps. It's kind of just what you're comfortable with, and you'll see that as you go along with these. Something like this that's like a consistent pattern. Not a consistent, well, kind of. You'll see what you're comfortable with and what you like. Ooh, I don't like that. Don't do it if you don't like it. You don't have to do it just because I'm doing it. I'm just giving you an example. Okay? And then this guy has little dots going around. I used the tip of my brush because I kind of liked it to be splattery like. If you want it to be a circle, you can use the back of your brush kind of like a stamp and just stamp it in your paint and then stamp it on your canvas like a dot. I'm going to use the tip of my brush and just go around here. And I just added a little to each bump, a little circle. Okay, I'm going to go to this guy, I'm going to do that center. So this is the part, be careful you don't stamp your hand on that whale. So I'm going to do that center circle. And then a bigger circle. Okay, and then this guy that is essentially like a flower, I'm going to go back and forth. So start at the top, and I'm going to do the point, down, and then I'm going to jump across. So point, down, I'll fix that guy there. Okay, and then I'm going to do left and right. So point down. This one I'm actually going to go up, because it's easier for my leverage. So now that you have these four, you can just fill in the inside. So I'll do this one here, and this one here. See? Makes it easier for you guys to space them out a little bit. And then I just have lines going out from in between each petal. And then you can put lines inside the petals if you want to. Touch up anything there. Okay, so I'm going to go to this one. So it kind of, let's see, starts off with that center circle. It's a little big. Then you're going to do the circle that's outside. These guys have lines in here. Stamped on something. Okay, because I made that so big, I'm going to make a center circle that's solid. If you want to. And then same thing with this one, with the petals. No, I'm sorry, same thing with this one. I'm going to start with this center one. Okay, and then go to the left and to the right. Sorry, I had too much paint on my brush there. All right. Okay, and then this has a circle around it. Just go slow. You want it to be kind of on the outside of the petals, but like, it doesn't need to be a perfect line here. Okay, and then these have the same little scallops that were up top here. Let's just start up top. Alright, so from here you can go to the middle and then up, make your lines kind of meet up at the top. So from this circle you can go up this way, and then from here go up that way to meet it. And then work your way around. Okay. Oh, and then there's lines inside here. So inside, in between each little bump, just gonna put a little line. Really, it's all about however you want to design yours. You know, add a polka dot, add a little line in between. These guys have swirly pieces. Just really, it's all up to you how you want to do it. Okay. Alright, moving right along. I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys here, but I don't know. Figure you can stop and go back if you need to. Alright, so this one here, we're starting again with that center circle. And just keep in mind, from here, you're still going to have a few, like you'll do petals, and then a circle, and then another circle, and then these petals. So you don't want to get too close to the fin. So just kind of imagine where it's going to be. So, you know, I'm kind of picturing it's going to be like here. So in the center of that circle would be like here. So that's where I'm going to start. I'll start my circles. So you're going to have that initial, that center circle, if you're following what I'm doing. And then a circle around it. And these have lines in there. Okay, and then the pointy petals, same as this one. So I'm going to start over here, do a point, pointed petal, same thing on the other side, pointed petal. And then the left and the right, and then fill in the 4 in between. If your brush is getting a little fat too with all your paint, you can kind of squeeze it in your paper towel so that it gets pointy again. And then just dip the tip of it into your paint, and then you can kind of twist it again if you need it to be pointy. And then go back. Do those petals in between. And then there's a circle around it. Looks like I got a little bumpy. Okay. And then another one around that. Alright, and then these petals have almost a point to the top, but they're kind of rounded too. So for this, I'm going to do the same thing. Scoot over to the other side. Okay. And then you can do this one, left and right. This one got a little big on me here, but it's okay. I'm just going to go with it. And then there's little lines inside each petal. So I did 3. Kind of big one in the middle and then 2 on the outside. Okay. And then the squiggles that go in between each petal, just have one be long and one be short. And they can curl a little bit at the top if you want. It's up to you. Okay. And then there's a little guy down here. So I'm going to just pick my canvas up here so you can see, so it's not hidden behind the shelf. Solid circle to start. And then circle around that guy. Another circle around that guy. Pointed petals. And then lines in between. All right, top one up here, we've got solid center. Line around it. And then rounded petals. Another solid line to make a half circle. And it looks like I did 2 here. Lines in the center. Alright, and these are swirly lines, so I'm going to start up top here. Just try not to push too hard on your brush, and just go up and make a little curl. And up and make a little curl. You don't need a lot of paint on your brush here. Okay. Okay. Down to this one, we've got a solid. I'm gonna just clean my brush off really quick. I got a lot of paint on there. And same thing as this guy, you know, keep in mind that he's kind of close to your whale, so start over a little bit so that your circle doesn't overlap it. And this one has a solid center circle. Circle around. Pointed petals, I'm going to start up top. And then go below. And then left and right. And then to fill in the in-between. And then a circle around. And then these are just little points kind of at each petal and then in between. Oh, my heater stopped, so music kind of got louder, sorry. Alright, last one is over here to the side. This one's got a solid center. Circle around. Another half circle around. And then 4 petals. So this is a half going off. And then 2 regular ones and another half going off. Regular, I'm sorry, full size. And then these have lines inside each petal. So just 2 little doop, 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 doop. Okay, so now, before we go into any of the black, rinse your brush off. We'll come back and do some more of these, like the white lines. So just rinse your brush really good. Rinse and dry. And for this, we're going to use black, but I'm going to mix it so that it's a kind of a dark gray on your plate so that it's not shiny black right out of your like paint container here. So, oh, I don't know if you can see that because of the light is so bright. Oh, there we go. Tiny little bit of white, and I'm going to do like 2 scoops here. Maybe 3 of black, and then mix it up. It's going to stay looking like black. The white is just going to kind of cream it out a little bit. Okay? Still looks like black, but that's okay. That white just helps to make it a little creamier so that it's not like a shiny black on your canvas. Okay, so when you're doing this, you want your brush to be really, really pointy. So you can kind of point it out with your fingers, you can point it out with your paper towel. Just make sure you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. And I'm gonna start with this piece here to separate, and then we'll do all these like zebra-like lines inside, okay? So start here. This rounded spot, you can kind of almost start from the other side. Come up and go around. Again, you don't need a lot of paint on your brush, so wipe it off so that it's not a big clump. So come up here, you're going to create almost like he's got like a nose. Sorry. Mine thick so you can see it. Okay, so then from there, try not to push so hard on your brush so that this line here is really thin. You're going to go down a little bit, and then you're going to bump it to the left. And then you're almost going to follow like the outside line, follow it down to the fin. Okay? And then same thing, if you want to start from up here or if you want to start from down here, we're going to outline the other side. So just go slow. You can do little bits like I'm doing. If you're confident, you can go top to bottom, go ahead. Just go slow. Okay. So now we're going to create all of those little pieces inside. So there's like a Y up here. I'm going to do that first. So that Y, just kind of start it. Again, try not to push too hard on your brush so that these lines stay thin. Keep wiping your brush off so you don't have a lot of paint on there. Whoops, I messed up, so I'm just going to make that another line there. Okay, so now this, from the point here, this is going to go all the way down. Now, it doesn't need to be a straight line. You can make it a little bump. A little bumpy, it's okay. So now you're just going to fill in the rest. Now, you don't want it to get too squiggly and out of control, but you don't need them to be straight lines. So kind of from here, do one that kind of just zigzags a little bit. Go all the way down to your fin. Now I'm going to go on the other side of that Y. I'm going to just do a little half one. Just goes to here. Okay. And this one I'm going to create another line that goes up here. This one I'll start from here and go down to the bottom fin here. You can do another one this way. Don't have enough paint on my brush. Okay. Okay, let's do another thin one in here. Just don't push too hard. This guy will do, here, let's see, we've got a few small ones up top here, and then another one that comes down here. Let's do another one, let's see, let's do another one in here. Okay, now the eye, just a little oval. Okay, now we can outline this guy. Again, if you're little bits at a time, if you want to go full U around, it's up to you. Just make sure you don't have a lot on your brush. And then give them some little, kind of like polka dots. I kind of like smushed the tip of the brush so that it was not a perfect circle. Give them some dots in there. All right, now let's do the outline for this fin here. So I have my hand like resting like this. You can use your pinky like this to kind of anchor before you go. It's up to you. Just go really slow. You don't need a lot of paint on your brush. I think I've said that like 900 times. I'm really sorry. Okay, so let's do this left side. Okay, I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm just doing that half because I want to fill in the lines in between so you guys I don't want you to smear this side. Okay, so same thing we did up top. I'm going to do a main line here. So from the top you can draw this guy down to the bottom. Give it a little Y up here. Then from this point here, I'm going to go down this way. And that has 3 lines on the inside here. Okay, and I'm going to go down to this side. So this side splits from over here. 1, 2, 3, looks like there's 4. lines in here. Make that a little thicker. Okay, so now I'm going to draw the rest of the outline. Okay, if you need to go back and touch up any of those lines, you can do that now. Looks like I gotta fix this going on. Let's go right here. Alright, and same thing, this guy has some polka dotty pieces. Oops. Again, don't have to be perfect circles. Got a few over here. And then these lines kind of continue. You can do this outline first. And then just kind of keep in mind how many lines you have here. They don't need to exactly match, but you don't want to have 20 lines here and only 5 up here. So just keep that in mind. Okay, and then I'm going to outline the other side. Just go slow. Be careful if your mandalas are still wet. You don't want to stamp your hand. Okay. Alright, so now rinse your brush off. All we have left is the little white highlights on here. I do have a little white highlight on his eye, but that's just, might be kind of hard for you guys to see that. But alright, so the white brush strokes that I have in here is something called dry brush. So what you're going to do is dip your brush in the white paint. Use your paper towel, kind of dry it off so your brush is a little dry. Then when you go to paint it on here, it's kind of like chalky, a little see-through. So you can add a little highlight to the fins if you want to. You don't have to go crazy. And then I did a little under here. Again, just dip it in your white, wipe it off on your paper towel. And see how it's kind of like see-through on here. It just gives you a little white effect. And then his eye, I did a tiny little like glow dot up top, which you can probably barely see in the camera. But I just gave it a little highlight there. Okay. I'm going to add a little more white to this belly part here. Alright, so I think that's all. That's all we got. You know what? Add a little white up by his nose here. Brighten up that spot up there. Alright. So that's all I have for you guys for this one. I hope you enjoyed. You could let us know if you want to. Let me know what you thought. Hope you enjoyed and had a wonderful time. Please subscribe and like and follow our institution, and there'll be more to come. Have a good day, guys. Take care.